Welcome to New York Real Field Trips. Today we're at the Geekery for a book launch.
Love Story for Witches came out back in 2014. It's a story about Adam, who is a really normal guy living in New York City, and he just wants to meet a girl that he really likes. So he is online dating when he meets this girl named Eva Gray, who is a witch, and she, because she's a witch, is involved in this huge witch war going on in New York. She's not allowed to say that she loves someone, and of course he falls head over heels for her. So it explores their relationship. And really deals with the idea that everybody wants to meet the love of their life until they do, and then they're terrified of commitment, which I think is something that a lot of New Yorkers can sympathize with. But it also talks a lot about how people sort of put their own expectations onto the people that they're with, and sort of how you let those expectations go and just let the person that you're with be who they are meant to be. And then this book, A Home for Wizards, follows that. It comes 2 years after the first book. And it deals with Adam and Eva in their current state in New York and how they're developing as a couple, but it also introduces a new character named Sparrow, who is a wizard, who, in this world, wizards are able to turn into a magical beast of some sort, and it's sort of a coming-of-age type thing, and he's trying to figure out his beast that he turns into, and he can't seem to figure it out. So he moves to New York to try and live with other wizards in this house in order to discover his inner power, and he soon will realize that unless he can accept himself for the flaws that he has as well as the good things, that he'll never be able to become who he's meant to be. So yeah. Well, the good thing about fantasy is you kind of can make it up as you go. I read a lot of fantasy and I have an idea of what witches and wizards are expected, but I always like to turn it on its head. So in the story, each witch has a magical weapon that they kind of channel their power through, and so it was important for me that some witches have staves and wands and things you'd expect, but other witches use like an iPad or spray paint or different things like that to kind of mix it up a little bit. Yeah. Yep, yeah, the book officially released yesterday. So it released in the United States, Canada, Mexico, Spain, France, and the United Kingdom. Oh, and Australia, so 7 countries. Today's launch party was meant to be kind of a gathering of friends and family members. My mother surprised me by flying in from Colorado, which is so sweet. The book is actually dedicated to her. And yeah, I was really happy to see everyone. We just had one of the worst, almost the worst snowstorm that we've ever had in New York yesterday, so we had to cancel the initial launch. So I was really glad to see everyone that was able to make it out tonight, and I think everybody had a really good time. Yeah. I always just say that. I know it's easier said than done, but just do it. So many people come up with so many excuses and so many reasons they can't, or I've got writer's block, or I can't because of this. Just do it. Like, the hardest part is just doing it. I think you have to sort of let everything go, let all of your self-criticism go, let all of your excuses go, and just the only way you're going to finish is if you just do it. And if your first draft is horrible, that's okay. It's a first draft. You give it to some friends, you work on it, you make it a little bit better, and you move on to the next thing. But you can't work on a first draft until you finish a first draft. So I don't do as much vlogging now, but I do a lot of blogging now. I blog primarily about like writing in general. I also blog a lot about Disney, which is a huge passion of mine, and we blog about different movies and news and stuff like that. My idea for my blog is basically that I'm a writer who is, working on my craft, but also kind of a big nerd who's a fanatic about things, and I want to share those passions with everyone. So my blog is jaysenheadleywrites.wordpress.com. Jaysen is spelled Jaysen. And that is the best place to find me. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter. My Twitter handle is @cucamongacat. My Instagram is @easycat. But all of that is the best place to find all of that is at my blog. I'm just really excited for everyone to read the book and see what they think. I've always sort of said through this series that for these characters, it's most important to me that they deal with real life issues first and fantasy problems second. So to me, the biggest problem in the wizard character, the main character's life, Sparrow, is whether or not he can pay his rent this week. And the second biggest problem is if this evil demon lord might kill him. So I like the idea of playing with both of those, and I think I also am a big fan of diversity. I think a lot of people out there will say things like, well, I don't feel represented in books, and my big thing, and again, easier said than done, but if you don't feel represented, then represent yourself, put yourself out there, and put yourself into your work, and give the world that representation that it desperately needs, so, yeah. Yeah, New York City is very diverse. It lends to a very diverse cast. I think New York City itself is a character in these books. There's a reason that people, like creators, talk about how they become so inspired when they come to New York, even for a visit. It's a very inspiring city. It's huge and it's beautiful, but there's also a lot of crazy people, and it really lends to just all kinds of stories, and I love sharing those stories. So. As of next week, the book will be on the New York Times bestseller list, which is really exciting. I think we're nearing also being a bestseller in the United Kingdom and France in the next week or two, so that's really cool too.
Congratulations, Jaysen.
Thank you so much.
Make it easier for you to write.
I'm gonna be walking around. Welcome to New York City. You are here to surprise Jaysen, right?
I was here to surprise Jaysen, but it didn't work out so well with the snow.
Wait, did you fly in okay?
Yeah, the flight was awesome. I'm glad I was able to come this time.
I also will say that this book is dedicated to my mother, who's sitting right here. So these here are the creative collaborators for Home for Wizards. Senior editors Carl Lee and Amy Chang, who worked very hard and tirelessly to make my writing readable and make this book available when it is now. So yeah. Hey Mom, said Adam, already regretting his decision to call her. Listen, I don't mind. I know you're busy, what with doing, well, I assume you're doing something important. Otherwise you'd call more often. Solving world hunger, curing cancer, meeting Oprah. Again, I don't mind, but you know how your father worries. He just rolls around on the carpet with the cats and asks if you've called every single day. But today he might even go outside, he'll be so thrilled. Not that this lovely guilt trip isn't, well, lovely, said Adam, clearing his throat. But I've got something I've been meaning to tell you. Oh Jesus, you've got Ebola. What? Adam pressed his fingers to his temples, feeling the beginnings of a migraine coming on. He shook his head. No, Mom, I'm getting married. There was a loud thud on the other end of the phone. Mom? Are you still there? Hello? Apparently the conversation was over. The shock of hearing this news had caused Mrs. Smith to faint. Okay, so my cousin, Dexter Allegre, is not here tonight, but she did this wonderful, wonderful, wonderful cover. I'm so thankful. My whole family is back in Colorado, so I was very happy to work with a family member. All right, thank you guys so much for being here. So cool.
Yay!